Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Sunday, June 23rd, 2024, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Now Mind You podcast. I'm your host, I'm TJ. The rest of the crew had some scheduling conflicts, but they should be back next week. With that, as far as announcements go, same as always, check out our social media links inside of our flow code. You can find that link in the bio. Check out the Instagram, check out the YouTube, etc., etc. Because I'm going to be going solo today, I will not be doing the topic of the week. We'll move that to next week where we got the fellas. But like I said, this is episode 122 manga. As far as the docket is concerned, I'll be going over Hajime no Ippo, Sakamoto Days, Kaiju number 8, Chainsaw Man. I'll take you into my favorite chapter this week, and we'll call it a show. With that, without wasting any additional time, let's just jump right into Ippo. Hajime no Ippo, George Morikawa. This is chapter 1460, titled The Devil's Range. Where do we leave off? Mashiba, sorry, hit us with the step in. How would I summarize this? Taking into consideration that we didn't do last chapter because we didn't do an episode for Father's Day. But we're effectively still in the middle of round three of Mashiba versus Rosario. Last chapter, meaning one, I should say 1459, Rosario invoked his cursed domain, right? His domain expansion, by calling out that it was unfair that he's the one that keeps getting hit. He went for a flurry after starting in the corner at the start of the round conspicuously, but it looked like Mashiba had an answer based on his foot placement. Let's get into this review. For what it's worth, it looks like Rosario had that champion mentality. He's not backing down without a fight. Now, mind you, we're still in the early rounds. This is round three. So his strategy, or the perceived strategy of him trying to end it quickly, is still in full effect. I feel like Mashiba being too greedy was a slight nerfing by Morikawa, not paying attention to the outside foot placement while dealing with the southpaw after all the training he did with Ippo. It's a little bit bizarre, but you also have to take into consideration that he could have been feeling himself or got caught up in the moment for the opening because, he literally just hurt Rosario. He stunned him right before that, damn near dropped him, right? Miyata roasting Sendo will never not be funny, but maybe this gives Sendo another tool he could use in this fight against Martinez. He was basically saying, like, yeah, you still need to mature, which can't hurt him going up against the insurmountable obstacle that is Ricardo Martinez in the world of Hajime no Ippo. Mashiba's first thing he focused on was Ippo and Kumi. It's always that. And even though it was clearly Kumi's hands on top of Ippo, right, all over Ippo, he's like, get your hands off of her. It's like, dude, clearly your sister is putting her hands on him, bro. He's like, all right, it's never not going to be funny. He's gonna acknowledge Ippo, but he's never gonna acknowledge Ippo. Now we're ending the chapter with a mature Mashiba on what appears to be skates. Yeah, I want to see what's about to go down next week. All right, moving on to Sakamoto Days, Yuto Suzuki. This is chapter 171, titled Belonging. Where do we leave off? Man, basically in chapter 170, at the end of it, Sakamoto had a whole early Spider-Man comic book moment where every comic ended in depression. My boy was ready to go underground to keep his family safe. He's like, maybe I don't belong here. I was like, dude. Summary. Well, since we last talked, we know that Sakamoto, Nagumo, and Shin are now on the JAA's most wanted list. And they were trying to move in disguise to get Hana a cake for her birthday. During that quest, they ended up encountering the new members of the JA. That nigga Tanabata skill set, insane. Also, Sheen got to use his new ability again. And then Torres just kind of, I think, took a hit from Nagumo, but we don't know if there was any fallout from that. But let me get into this review. Man, how come Sakamoto's mustache disappears when he's in caloric deficit mode? That facial hair, like it's facial hair, it's not fat. So why would that get burned off too? Also, he's stuck in slim moto mode still, right? My man is just too depressed to eat right now, it feels like. I like how he's public enemy number one, thinking about how he's putting his family in danger, but openly walking around in these streets because he's not worried about it. Dispatched anybody who tried to cross him without breaking his stride. That's some Yujiro behavior. You can't say, I just want to live in peace while committing crazy amounts of violence. Shout out to every Jackie Chan movie ever, right? Man, the bills are due, but on the bright side, we got the store's origin story. Apparently, it was like a strong part of their initial relationship between him and his wife. There was no room at the table for Sakamoto in society, so they built a new table together where he could belong. I'm not sure I follow the logic of converting the JAA into Sakamoto franchises. Basically, every station of the JAA, every franchise of the JAA wants to convert into a Sakamoto Days store or a Sakamoto store. Will that ultimately mean an ending to the assassin economy or at least to the government sanctioned parts of it? Who knows, right? That remains to be seen. Man, that last panel, Uzuki still looks like the Mr. Takamura personality is in charge. He's still holding that katana. I'm guessing we got Kumanomi and Gaku on the nearby buildings. You know who isn't there though? Haruma. Rest in pieces. Side note, how's Kaji doing? He was there at the start of the last arc, but got dispatched pretty quick. Excited for next week. Sakamoto Days usually delivers, right? Speaking of delivering and maybe not doing that, going into Kaiju number 8, Naoya Matsumoto, chapter 109. Where'd we leave off? We didn't get to cover chapter 108, but essentially Mina's back and ready to fulfill a childhood promise with her best friend. How would I summarize this? The power of friendship and keeping promises to a certain degree, even though it may not be what you envisioned, is what it is. Review. There are so many questions that I've had and that you've all heard regarding the origin of Kaiju number 8. But the latest one I have is this, right? Is the number 8 form, body, however you want to put it, the inspiration for the modern day Kaiju suits, whether it be numbered or regular? Seeing Mina and Kafka side by side, you can't help but notice the similarities in the suit design compared to, Kafka's Kaiju form. And what with the teaser of the Kaiju Phantom so many chapters ago, you can't help but wonder if the number 8 has been an ally, or at least whatever incarnation of number 8 back then, right, has been an ally to the fight against the Kaiju dating back centuries. Yes, goals achieved and promises fulfilled, like I said, not necessarily in the way that was envisioned, but accomplished nonetheless. However, no action happened this chapter. The plot didn't really move forward. It was the same shit, different day, right? Again, okay, if I'm being objective and fair, it wasn't a bad chapter, but a 2 week wait is not justified by this level or this amount of content. And while we're at the 109th chapter and we're getting this big battle, you may be thinking that this has all happened relatively quickly. Kaiju number 8 started serialization in summer 2020. That was 4 years ago. So if you just recently binged the manga, it would all seem so quick. But if you've been in the trenches, this has been and continues to be, to a certain degree, excruciating. All right. I'm getting a stronger and stronger feeling that this is not the final battle, and there's a high chance that this is one of number nine's clones. That thing has contingencies upon contingencies. There's no way it hasn't planned for this eventuality. Matsumoto, of course, I'm talking about now, and Matsumoto, the author, is headed in the direction of my hero right now. I feel it, right? In my opinion, I'm in too deep to just drop it, but I have not been a fan of the direction of the manga. Now we got to wait another 2 weeks for maybe, possibly getting a hint of some type of action. So, Kaiju. Switching over to Chainsaw Man, Tatsuki Fujimoto. This is chapter 168 titled Kiss, Love, Sperm. Previous chapter where we leave off, you know damn well where we left off, right? How would I summarize this? Awkward teenage hormones. Review. It looks like Yoru and Asa both have feelings for Denji, although Yoru seems to protest a little too much, right? Seems to be blaming it on Asa's influence. Girl, I hope you washed your hands before punching yourself in the face. Fuji, all right, I hope you washed your hand. Yeah, I felt bad saying that, but Fujimoto is the king of drawing panels filled with awkward tension. That physical fight between Asa and Yoru was actually kind of cool. Yo, what if the falling devil is the chef at Death by Sushi, right? Now to kind of switch gears, this is something I haven't got a chance to really mention on air, but after the events of last chapter, you can make the argument that Denji slash Chainsaw Man's heart, because at this point I'm pretty sure that's what Pochita is, right? That's the most clarification I got in the recent chapters. But I'm pretty sure they now belong to Yoru, which would then turn him into the most powerful weapon at her disposal. Remember in chapter 99 when she tried to get Yoshida to become to become her boyfriend, and he said nah, right? There's something about, if she can, the more the thing or person likes her or loves her, the stronger the connection they have, the more powerful weapon they become, right? If there's some type of attachment, they can become a powerful weapon for the war devil. So I'd like to see how that I'd like to see if that comes up, or maybe it's just something that we need to keep in the back of our minds. That being said, we'll see where this goes. But again, let's get to the more important priorities, right? The other Chainsaw Man, the Death Devil, et cetera, et cetera. What ended up being Nayuta's ultimate fate, right? Switching gears, favorite chapter this week, probably One Punch Man chapter 201. I know One Punch Man has been on a redraw kick with the latest arc, but it's always cool to see Blast in action, and then the Infinite Void being the head ninja. Turns out he was like the original monster, right? The original person who got monsterfied. So yeah, I like where One Punch Man is headed. I wish they wouldn't do redraws like this, because it really kind of messes everything up timeline wise, or at least serialization wise, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm caught up on One Punch Man. No, you're not. They redrew it. It's like, what? But that's the only series I can think of that does that. Kengan was cool too, but I feel like this Justin Kitagawa versus the Yakuza kid, that fight is, it's not my favorite. It's not bad. It's just not, it hasn't been as compelling. Maybe it's because they're relatively new characters and we're kind of just getting their backstories now. But One Punch Man was definitely up there for me in terms of favorite chapter. Well, this concludes episode 122 of the Now Mind You podcast. I'd like to thank y'all for giving this a listen. I'd imagine it was a little bit shorter than what you're used to, but nonetheless, thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for the engagement. It is appreciated. Don't hesitate to spread the word with friends and family. It means a lot to us. You can find the podcast on any podcast distribution platform you can think of. As far as where to find our social media, pretty much any platform. If you look for or I should say the handle at Now Mind You Pod, that's NOWMINDYOUPOD. And then as far as us, you can find me on Instagram at Tuss4Skate. That'll be TUSS number 4_SKATE. You can find Matt on damn near everything at Matt Hambrick. That's MATTHAMBRIC. Of course, you can find Bryce on Instagram at Ashe Onsa. That's AXE_ONCA. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Have a great night. See you next week. Peace.